there are several things about the relationship between elders and pastors that can be awkward and tricky. And I think all elders and pastors experience that. At Crossroads, the elders are serving in the same ministry along with the pastors. For example, my wife and I are active in the young adults ministry along with Pastor Daniel, who is leading that. And as we work alongside of each other, oftentimes we are in submission to Daniel. But other times I put on my elder hat and I step above, and Daniel is in submission to me. And knowing when I'm acting as the elder versus when I'm submitting under the pastor and flipping back and forth can be tricky to navigate. And moreover, on Daniel's side, I know that he is very sensitive about me being an elder, and it would sometimes tend to wonder about, is this going to affect my job performance or stability or anything like that? And so the elder-pastor relationship is typically very tricky to do well. At Crossroads, we've come up with a principle that has helped us with this in the way the elders and pastors relate to each other, the way we sort of understand where one role and the other role fit together. We call that pastor-directed and elder-protected. Pastor-directed, elder-protected. To explain that, I'd like to read a couple of paragraphs from the Elder's Handbook at Crossroads. It says that practically speaking, the staff, that is the pastors, the staff leads in dreaming and designing the plans and goals for the church. They submit their ideas to the elders, who also add their dreams, and for prayer and discussion and approval. Once approved, the staff is responsible for implementation, and the elders support them in that task. Now, in whatever area of gifting the elder operates, whether it's administration, teaching, wisdom, etc., the elder takes on the responsibilities and services of a visionary and a protective leadership of the whole body. The elders are also the shepherds of the flock, and in all the dimensions of a shepherd's role, they adhere to the ministry of the elders, leading, protecting, feeding, nurturing, healing, rescuing, knowing, and simply being with the flock. And so in my work as an elder with the pastor I work with, I let him be the director, and I view myself as the protector. And in those two different roles, we do this dance where we submit to each other and we collaborate in God's kingdom. I think it's best to explain this by way of some examples. What are the things as an elder that I would protect a pastor from? And what threats does an elder protect the church from? As I work with a pastor, the first thing that I think I often need to protect is balance. At Crossroads, we put a lot of emphasis on our pastors having balanced lives. We do not want to see our pastors working at the church or in their ministry all the time and burning themselves out, as pastors often do. And so I meet with my pastor typically once a month, and I'm always careful to ask some questions about, how's your family life? Are you getting to spend enough time with your wife and your kids? Are you enjoying each other? How's that going? If there's anything starting to go awry there, I want to start praying about it and get on his side and help. How's your ministry going in terms of, do you have people you can delegate to? Are you trying to do everything yourself, or are you setting up new leaders that you can offload some of those responsibilities to? That takes more time initially, but it pays off in the long term. And sometimes I have to take a protective stance and protect the pastor from himself. If I see the pastor starting to do too many activities, launching too many new initiatives, going on too many missions trips all at once, I have to ask, how are you going to have time for this? You know, what are you saying no to in order to say yes to this opportunity? And you know, pastors, like all of us, need a chance to have someone, you know, analyze our time and you know, help us think through our decisions. The second thing that I find an elder needs to protect against is wolves. That is, when somebody comes into the church or comes into a ministry from the outside and begins to do damage to it. Someone begins to undermine the leader or accuse or insult the leader behind his back, where the pastor begins to have to spend time and energy focusing on this one problem, this one person who is the wolf in sheep's clothing sometimes. You know, I can think of you know, times when that has happened with pastors while I was being the elder, and I had to step in and say to the pastor, okay, I'm going to handle this now, and approach the wolf directly and begin going through the process outlined in Matthew 18. Talk with them frankly about their behavior, tell how it's perceived. One-on-one, give them that opportunity to start to repent and come around. And if that doesn't work, you bring an additional person in. And eventually, if things continue to go poorly, then you know, it rises up to the rest of the elders. In practice, the wolf always leaves before it gets that far, in my experience. But that's a very important role that the elders have to be alert for. You have to, you know, I have to talk to the pastor once a month to know when the wolf alert is going off, and we need to raise that red flag and spring into action. And the pastor really needs support in dealing with that. A third thing that elders protect is the vision of the church. As elders, the body of elders, we're all sitting around the table. We share the vision of where our church is going from year to year, from decade to decade. Whereas pastors may come and go, there's a consistency in the elders propagating that vision forward. And we have to make sure as we operate in different parts of the church that everybody is adhering to that vision and not going outside of it, that all of our energy is being focused in the right direction for what we think the vision of our church is. For example, we at Crossroads, part of our vision is to reach people who are not churched, people who have not been in a church very much before, who are coming to know Jesus for the first time or coming back after a long absence. And so we want to make our church and our teaching very easy for people to come to and to understand. We want to go deep in the Bible, but to always give enough background in our Bible teaching so that anybody could come in and understand what we're talking about. So if a pastor is beginning to do teaching that is too deep, that might be on a seminary level, then I need to talk to the pastor about that and say, you know, that's not really the vision of our church. The vision is to make the truth accessible to everybody, even if they're coming for the first time. Not everyone has the background to understand that teaching. Another part of our church vision is small groups. We want to have lots and lots of small groups and always creating new ones as the church grows. If the pastor is building one gigantic small group with 30 people in it, that's not consistent with our vision. The vision needs to be that when the small group gets to a certain size, you've trained leaders so that the groups can split apart. And you keep training more leaders and the groups split apart again. And so that's another area where as a church vision, when a new pastor begins working at Crossroads, the elders will have to work with them and help them start to see what that pattern looks like, so they can stick to that vision of the church and the way we operate. So in all of these things, I want to mention that there's a strong role of listening that the elder is going to do. All of us want to be listened to in our work. Pastors especially do not often get the opportunity to be vulnerable, to be real. And I believe that elder protection, part of that is to give the pastor someone they can sit down with who is not threatening, who is going to listen to them and not be judgmental, and work through their problems with them. And I would hope that we, as elders, always do that. One more point about elder-directed and pastor-directed, elder-protected, I would mention is that if you've got several elders, as we do, and you've got several pastors, as we do, we typically assign one elder to one pastor. And so each elder is operating in one part of the ministry, and that pastor is the one they get paired off with. And so each elder meets with their pastor one-on-one. If an elder has a concern about another pastor, either perhaps an elder, as an elder I see a pastor who is not my pastor that I'm paired off with, but another pastor in the church. And I observe that pastor is perhaps going outside of the vision, or his life is going out of balance in some way. The correct thing for me to do is to go talk to the other elder of that pastor first, so that the two of us are comparing notes and thinking about what we're both seeing, and then decide what the next step should be. It is not always a mistake, but a little bit dangerous for me to take on the role of the elder protector and go talk to another pastor that I wasn't paired up with, because then that pastor might be getting different direction from two different elders. And nobody likes getting conflicting orders from two different points of authority. So we kind of don't want to do that to our pastors.